Everyone, this is going to be a video in response to Paula M's work on exposing, let's say, the fact that Nut may have birthed a child in 1997 and the email provided by the government. The first thing I want to say is just in general, I just want to give you a little bit of context. When I first started this, I actually didn't want to be a YouTuber. I didn't want to be a presenter. I'm more of a writer and a researcher, and I prefer, talking to somebody's face than talking to my phone and just talking on my own and, running off on tangents and so forth. And yes, I can have a script, but when I have a script, I can be also a lot more mechanical in my my delivery. So I just want to point that out, and I want you to know that that it can be difficult having all of this information and delivering. If I have a title on a YouTube video saying this debunks this, it's the proof that I'm providing, even if I'm literally not telling you this debunks this because of X, Y, Z, is the proof that you need to then ask your own questions. For me, that's the point. I literally don't want to tell you my opinion based on these facts and the evidence I'm providing. I want you to think for yourself. I am not a YouTube presenter. The reason why I'm here is because I contacted so many YouTubers, including Padina and Paula M in 2023, trying to get help with getting the information out and possibly having conversations together, because I really didn't want to just do it on my own. And whenever I tried to do it on my own, even at the worst quality I could, it wasn't. I was being ostracized and my information was being suppressed, which still is. You know that story. So I just want you to know that I will try my best to present the information as succinctly as possible and according to the title of my videos. This is based on some feedback I've received. I'm happy for constructive criticism, but I do move away from the point at times, or I'm having a discussion because there's so much information for me to really talk about and then to bring back to a point. And I want you to make the point for yourselves. I want you to think for yourselves. And at the moment, I'm quite emotional because in response to me questioning this proof that's been provided by Paula M and then promoted by Padina, I have a lot of people that follow me asking questions and saying this doesn't make any sense, saying there's no logical explanation for this, for a certain point to make. And I am going to put those comments also in here to prove the points. I will do my best to prove the points succinctly as possible, but, just bear with me and enjoy it for what it is. I really don't want to be a YouTube presenter either. I'm just not that way inclined. I'm not here for money either, so I'm here for the truth. So let's continue. I'm going to break this down as objective as possible regarding the proof that's been provided by Paula M. But I do have some questions regarding Paula M and Padina and their own agenda being on here. That's my own personal opinions and beliefs. As a Commonwealth citizen, as is Paula M, I find it very personally upsetting that someone would want to obstruct truth from being told and also promoting the truth tellers that are giving this a lot more credible information and facts that break down and that tie it to the monarchy, which is seemingly is what seems to be the point of this proof being provided right now at this very convenient time. And that's what I want to get through to you. I don't objectively with this proof. I think that this is a strategy to completely divert us and delude us and distract us into feeding the drama of Nut, of her identity construct, and to go with that and to feed off of that rather than looking into the liability of the royal family and this whole strategy that's been played out for, several years. And the reason why I say this is because it's very, very timely that this has come out. And the points that are in the proof itself that I will now go through with you. Let me start off with another article here. Let me go back. So it's very convenient and very timely that a new strategy is taking place, is unfolding. If you notice the patterns, if you're starting to pick up these patterns through mainstream media, right on time as to when myself, the Royal Grift, Duchess of Sussex, and others, which I am really not aware of, and I apologise if I haven't included, are spitting out truths like wildfire, breaking down government documents as fraudulent, which tells you a very bigger picture, much bigger than that. That is breaking down all these truths. And right here, there's an article about royal deception over Archie's birth and Meghan Markle lied to public in privacy bid. So here you are getting, on the 28th of August, very, very timely, a new deflection led by mainstream media that Nut has basically provided fraudulent information on birth documentation of Archie. Now, the point I want to make is a single individual cannot certify by the government fraudulent documents. And that's the whole point of the government certifying documents and having them on their own records. If they are fraudulent, then it's a crime. And I don't really think a Duchess of the royal family would be able to fraudulently lie on any certificate or document and for them not to know. That is just laughable. This would also involve, now that I've proven, all documentation across US and UK are fraudulent based on all this information that's now questionable, even including some layouts of the certified documentation from these governments. I've lost my train of thought. But how is this her problem? How is she doing this across countries? How could she be the one? You can talk about somebody being a fraud and a con and fraudulently providing documents, but they also need to be certified. So you can get away with like having a document that's not certified and saying, oh yeah, this is the truth, but they're certified. Another thing is birth certificates and all identity certificates in UK are owned by the Crown, literally have copyright by the Crown. Do you really think their intelligence agencies and the government, the Parliament, will not know of this fraud and let it happen for several years until a few YouTubers start spitting out home truths. Think about it. Getting into the email itself, I'm going to talk about Paula M for a bit. Paula M's last video or so, well, the one I saw, she's talking about that she's been researching and been a researcher for a very long time. And that she's been debunking all of these facts for a really long time. And it sounded a lot like me, to be honest with you. And I contacted her in 2023 when she put up a video questioning, I think it was about the school certification, the school documents of Fauci in California. And she was questioning them, but she didn't research enough to provide a conclusion that was like a sound proof that something she knew something was awry, something was wrong, but it wasn't actually proven that something was wrong, that it was fraudulent, let's say. And I offered to help her with that and wanting to have an actual a shared platform, a shared YouTube video. I said I'd love to chat with you about this stuff, and I can help out with my own information and research that I've done. And she said, oh yeah, yep, this time's fine, this date's fine, and then she never got back to me. That's fine, that's her choice. I don't have anything wrong with that. But I'm just telling you that because she's aware that I exist. She's aware that I've been researching for a very long time and debunking these things for a long time, over a year. I haven't just popped up. And this is how she's going about now debunking things that she's never really that hasn't been her nature for a very long time. And I'll prove this to you. June the 6th, she's saying that this is a revelation through an article in mainstream media that Todge and Nut have no children. Through David Foster. So you can't find that on your own. So we've had like the Sussex baby scam hashtag, and we've been debunking this for a really long time, since 2023. And you're finding out through David Foster and mainstream media. Not to mention, if you go here, on May, so earlier than that, she's saying that Princess Eugenie is a part of the baby scam. She knows. So then how does this make sense if you're like, there are no children? If you're telling us in May that there's a baby scam, why is this a shock and a revelation? And not your own either. Yeah, and then promoting Samantha Markle is just a whole nother level. I don't know what to tell you. If you're promoting this con artist, and any con artist in this whole fiasco, that, yeah, my own personal opinion is that already makes me believe something that isn't true. I used to support Sam Markle. I used to support her because I actually thought she was honest when I believed that this whole thing was real. But then when it come to the court case and Sam Markle working with Lady C, I didn't know why. Why would Sam Markle need to be working with Lady C when UK laws don't apply? Why would that be news? Why? It just seemed a little too staged. And then that court case seemed to just go nowhere. And it was just a little too elusive for me. But, yeah. So anyone promoting that is just a whole, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I also have a hard time believing anyone who wants to chill out with this guy. An absolute shill who said in The Wild Harry, or that documentary about Harry being wild and becoming a new man after Chelsea, not Chelsea, Chelsea? Yeah, it was Chelsea, right? After that blonde girl from South Africa. That whole branding documentary back in the day, him saying that basically without you're out of a job as a royal expert or royal journalist or commentator, not a true journalist, impartial. You're without a job if you don't follow instruction by the royal family and the monarchy, because you won't be invited to any events and you won't be a part of pretty much the royal rota. So anyone involved with him, I just completely disregard. And this is at a Lady C event, no less. So I did also contact privately and personally Padina in, I think it was May 2023, saying, hey, I'm just trying to get my platform out and try to tell the truth. Here's my YouTube channel. And she said, responded only with, keep me updated. And I just thought, that's weird. That's weird. But other than that, that's her choice as well. And I respect that choice. What I find strange is everyone's coming out with these truth bombs, including myself and the Royal Grift and Duchess of Narcissex, and that's not even being promoted on any of their platforms. That's what I have a hard time with. Right when truth bombs are coming out at this time, after 8 years, nothing's been done about this stuff. There's just been gossip, idle gossip that's completely kept you confused and feeding up drama for 8 fucking years. You finally get people telling and spurting out the truth with facts, making you question things. Concerns of rights, concerns of people questioning the legitimacy and the monarchy. We get these articles about Nut herself being deceptive regarding birth certificates and official legal documentation. Fauci's birth certificate being in the UK copyrighted and owned by the Crown. And then you get this video by Paula M, who's not a researcher, as I've shown you, sending an email to, I don't know, the government. Is it a government? I'm guessing it's a government. I haven't looked at the video, nor am I willing to. But this is the document. So basically the story, if you haven't heard it, is miraculously after 8 years of no one being able to find any real documents in seasoned genealogists and heritage researchers, they haven't found any documentation online regarding Nut's background, and many of us had stipulated, not including myself, but many people had stipulated very strongly and boldly very early on, like 2017 to 2018, that Nut and her family's documentation online were completely wiped out. That would be by the government, and that would be by many, many operatives. So, but then you get, miraculously, 8 years later, you get Paula M, no less, so not a researcher, contacting the government and asking for a document that no one would really know about. No one would, and no one saw. No one saw throughout these whole 8 years, no one saw this document. No one exposed it. And it's just turned up now. And the point I want to make regarding this is this whole circled area. there is a sealed record of Miss Rachel Meghan Markle, which we don't know is her real name, in the state of California, who gave birth to a child in 1997. This record was sealed December 2018. It was sealed 2018 December. You're going to tell me that a wedding occurred and she owned the title of Duchess of Sussex. Without question, she married him, and they certified that, and there was no investigation by intelligence agencies or by the Crown or by the monarchy as to who this woman was and her background. And they let her become engaged to the prince, the fifth in line to our monarchy, and then they let her get married to the fifth in line, the prince of our monarchy. And then the document in California was sealed while she was living in the UK, while she was pregnant with the line of succession, Farchi, supposedly. All other documentation has been wiped out by now, but this one still exists up until December 2018. Go figure. I really want to take you now to the points I want to make regarding, right now, I've already debunked, to be honest, with logic and logical argument, this document wouldn't have existed until December 2018. It wouldn't have existed. Someone would have found out. Someone would have been able to find it, and they didn't. Not to mention, how would not be able to seal it while she's in the UK? Like, what's the process of sealing a document? And who would seal the document, more like? Do you think it was Nut? Do you really think it was Nut? If this document was real? While she was in the UK, no less, up at Duff. I think, wasn't she in Australia during this time? I'm sure she was. She had just announced she was pregnant in, I think it was October, 13 weeks in to her pregnancy, supposedly. No, sorry. She finished up in, I think, the 31st of October. And then from December, she was in the UK and she was doing a lot of tours and events. This one in particular, she was chilling out in the UK. And Sussex Royal have, promoted it. Oh, this one. Yep, golden. So this woman supposedly sealed a document of a pregnancy after she was, newly pregnant and newly married in the UK. She sealed it in the US. So that's the first point and the main point. And the other points are just logical arguments and questioning. And I'm really, really proud of people who are asking their own questions and having their own logical explanations to things without me having to say anything or these are insights that I was even like, oh yeah, like this is such an amazing point. And not that it supports my own understanding of things, but that it breaks down with efficacy, with a really good point, a really strong point, this whole new narrative that has just coincidentally come out at the same time as mainstream media trying to show how deceptive Nut's been without any implication of the royal family. So the first one is Amy Noel. She makes some really good feedback a lot throughout my whole video. She's been here for a while, I think, and I really thank her for this comment. This was the first one that was just like shit, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, this whole logic of Nut's child being taken care of by Sam Markle, supposedly, that whole story, alongside the golfing video footage back in the 2000 whatever of this woman saying that Nut had a child. Look, there's the point there, you know, that could easily have taken place, right? But this is the thing. Nut doesn't act like a parent. And I've already proven that she's risked the lives of her children, fake or not. She's risked the lives of her children while they were in the womb and while they were alive, through COVID, exposing her while she was pregnant to COVID, exposing herself to listeria while she was pregnant, and she was had an at-risk birth with Fauci, you know, she told all of us how she was at risk, and that was the reason why she had to go to the hospital, even though she's, you know, very fit and does yoga. That stuff isn't, yeah. Not to mention the stories that, look, I'm just going to show you the video I have here. But Amy said, then why was MM acting so strangely when she had the pregnancy with Archie? If she had an actual viable pregnancy years ago, she would have known that she engaged in behavior that no pregnant woman could achieve. She would have known to behave and comport herself more in alignment with what was and what was not possible with an actual pregnancy. That way, she could have been more convincing. Was she trolling people then? Or was she just not being able, like, acting, yes, like, but you would, if you had done it before, it would be relatable. You would know how to put it on. I'm going to now show you my video, The Frauds of the Sussex Baby Scam. We're going to revisit it because these points made would not have needed to be made if Nut had been pregnant prior, because she would understand that doing this and saying such things is a really big no-no. You wouldn't then tell people that, you know, you were pregnant with a geriatric pregnancy, which, by the way, it's a lot easier. You wouldn't have so much of a problem with pregnancy when you're older if you've had a pregnancy prior as well. That's another thing to consider. My mother was quite old when she had me, but she had children prior, and so there was very little risk regarding carrying me to term. I was premature, but, you know, there were other reasons for that as well. So I don't think at all that it had anything. She still was able to get pregnant. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And carrying it to term was fine. And she had no issues with that. But these points wouldn't even, I wouldn't even need to make these points if Nut was pregnant before and she knew how to convince people of the truth. Let's get into it. So I have 10 points, and the first one is, let's start from the beginning. And this is in regards to both pregnancies and both births and both children. So I'll try to cover everything. So the first point is the pregnancy announcements. Now, those pregnancy announcements were done even in Netflix way too early. I think when Nut said that she was pregnant on September the 17th, 2020 with Fiblet, it was within 3 to 5 weeks. I know I have it down and I'll present this to you, as we go on. But she was very, very early into the pregnancy, and she was very sure of it after a miscarriage, which was extremely strange. And the same with Fauci. she was giving away hints, and her mother was trained to be a nanny far too early. It was just surreal. So that's the first point I want to make, is that these announcements. Oh, and Fauci was announced, I think she was 12 weeks pregnant at the time. She wasn't even 13 weeks, which is, as you know, and so especially because she was considered, she even said she was considered a geriatric pregnancy, or, you know, if you were sensitive to that, an advanced age pregnancy, and she could be at risk. So it was very strange that she was announcing the birth at 12 weeks. So that's the first point. The second point, this is my favorite, because I've had some fun doing this, is I explored or found that Meghan put herself at risk, and jeopardized both births and pregnancies by drinking wine, consuming raw egg, which, you know, exposes you to listeria, and what else? COVID, which we'll get to it. That's one point in and of itself. So she was drinking wine during Fauci's pregnancy, I know for a fact, because in Spare, she would have conceived Fauci around the 6th of August. She said by the end of summer that she was with the King and Todge in, I think, was it the Castle of May in Scotland? Something or other. She confused it anyway. That event was actually with the Queen, but she pretended that they were listening to Frank Sinatra and drinking, I think, cocktails. So she was already pregnant at the time, at the end of that trip, which was around the late 20s, in August. It was when that trip actually took place. I think it was at Balmoral, though, with the Queen. But that took place late August. She had already conceived and she was drinking cocktails. Then the next one would be Soho Amsterdam opening, which is my absolute favorite because it was so covered in depth by, I think it was Daily Mail, and by so many other mainstream media publishers connected, of course, to the Royal Rota. And, you know, they had interviews with people that were there, that were also there at Istanbul Soho opening in April of 2015, and they were catching up. And they go into extreme detail about what they ate and what she consumed for dinner. And they said there was wine. And I know a lot of people think, oh, wine's fine for a pregnancy, but when you're, you know, at risk already concerning your age, and, you know, it was her first pregnancy, it's a little... Which, you know, she was born, what, now 1977, 1979? How old was she? Laughable. Suspicious or questionable. And she drank wine and had a seafood linguine, but for dessert, she had tiramisu. And I actually found out where they ate. So just to, let you know, eating tiramisu in Australia, even seafood like shellfish, we're pretty sound with this stuff. We do not eat it. We don't eat it whatsoever. First of all, you've got liqueur. Usually in a traditional tiramisu, you have raw egg, which is then exposes you to listeria. Listeria is huge and hugely covered legally in Australia, especially in terms of if a pregnant woman is to go to a restaurant and then is provided raw egg in a meal, that the restaurant or the venue can be sued and is completely liable, because it risks the life of the baby and also the mother. It's a big thing. Then you've got also the liqueur, you've got coffee in there, et cetera, et cetera. But this is well covered in Australia. This is why, for me, straight away, it flagged. There's a red alert that she ate tiramisu while she was pregnant with a geriatric at-risk pregnancy. Really? So that's why there's a bit of context there. That Saturday night for dinner for the Soho owner Nick's birthday, and I think it was is it Ciccione's, which is actually attached to Soho in Amsterdam. And I looked up their menu and I found the dessert. So I confirmed that there was tiramisu. And then I actually looked into the ingredients and there are different types of tiramisu. One that contains raw egg, one that doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's pasteurized, but it's still a raw egg, so because the tiramisu is not cooked.
Oh my god, okay. Thank you so much for letting me know. Raw egg. Bye. Raw egg. Raw egg. It's got egg. That, and there's also the fact that in Spare, Todge confirms again that while she was having her second pregnancy the night before the miscarriage, I think. Yes, it was, because it was the night that they moved in. It was an easy night. They, had a quiet one. They had a toast and she had some wine. And then you can see during the footage in Netflix, staged or not, that she was drinking wine at her office. So that's another one. I can't confirm yet anything regarding Fiblet and her drinking, but she consumed alcohol on both her first pregnancy and second pregnancy, raw egg, and the like. So that's the second point. The third point I have are the fake moon bumps. I mean, there are just so many obvious things that I've spotted with tours. Australia. I'll get past this point regarding the moon bump because, it's nothing to do with the nature of parenting, although you wouldn't know how to be convincing of that. Australia, for example, but I think, I can cover this both for both Farchi and Fiblet, the weather at the time and the given time period. It's a Vogue video that has already that's on my channel on YouTube that you can watch. It was, I think, as well, in general, with the office things. Harry and, oh God, I keep saying their names, Todge and Nut, where she's meant to be pregnant with Farchi, is fake due to her cosmetic enhancement. Yeah, so many actual birth certificates within Santa Barbara County and obviously UK. And it's more, just in general, the titles used and so forth. It's very, very strange. Missing, I'll put it up and you can see for yourself. Yes, the actual fake baby photos of both Fiblet and Farchi at this time. The fake baby photos, that's fine. I'll move on. So regarding that, and then there's also Fiblet with Photoshop. There are just too many different Fiblets on Netflix. I mean, there's numerous different faces being used. Netflix are just all over the place. Canada, we spotted with the photos. But in general, I mean, I've already spoken to you about the teeth development of Fauci in Canada, which I can now confirm with my findings never took place. That they were in fact living in California. The ages of the children are all over the place. The syllables. Now, this is an important thing to make. I don't know if I've skipped past the COVID situation. The COVID situation exposing Nut to, it might still be coming up, but Nut exposed her fiblet while she was in the womb and was still at risk of catching COVID, supposedly, according to research papers. And Fauci, when Todge came back from the UK following his grandfather's death, he went straight from the airport to, of course, be with her and Fauci, which is insane. He didn't do any lockdown. He didn't protect them against exposure to COVID, which is a part of the protocol. Irrespective of what you think of COVID, that was the protocol at the time. And if your wife was pregnant and you had a small, vulnerable child, you would not do that. And then the day or days after, she took Fauci, who was 2 at the time, to school. And this was during a really bad time during COVID in California. Anyway, that being said, she then exposed the community, her unborn child, and also Fauci. And that is a huge legal breach. And yet the California government did nothing, and there were no fines, and there were no penalties, and there were no articles about it. But yeah, it's all Nut being deceptive, of course. So that's one. But this is about also, if Nut was pregnant prior, she would know that children would pronounce things at certain ages, not what she's provided here, or Todge. I think all in all, a baby's first word being crocodile or Grandma Diana, the syllables, the pronunciation of certain letters or combinations of letters, like L, like dr, like gr. You have to be of a certain age, 4 to 5 years of age for that to happen. So it's strange, to say the least. Yeah. The other point that I would make, it's probably the strongest and craziest thing I've seen, would be the fact that they thought it was okay to say that Fauci learned how to walk on the concrete steps of Tyler Perry's home, which is almost like, for a baby, it'd be considered like a cliff face. It's on a hill, it's steep, and Todge is saying to Tyler Perry, this is where Fauci learned how to walk, right on these steps. And I was just completely dumbfounded. I mean, dumb is the right word to use, but I just was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm not even a parent, and I would know that. And I know that. This is what's so insane. I don't think you even have to be a parent to know that. But as a parent, you would most definitely know that that is just the stupidest fucking thing to try to make people to believe. There's just no parenting skills or no knowledge of that. Maybe they are parents or he is a parent, but that can't be real. It just can't be. It's just impossible. So yeah, we've got that. And then we've got the fake milestones, which I've already really proven just then, is the fake milestones of the crocodile first word. I can't think of much. I think there's too much information going on, but yeah, learning how to walk, all that stuff, going to playgroup class. Now, I know a lot of people have debated about this, but playgroup specifically used for that specific term is, 3 to 5 year olds, not a 10-month or 11-month-old baby. That this is in the UK, by the way. In UK, you can say creche, you can say childcare. That's a completely different thing. So playgroup is just, for Nut to say that is something else, which is in my video of the curious case of Farchman Button. So you can look at that. Now, yes, risking the children's lives during COVID.
Oh, okay. We'll cover it.
Now, there's two events that I want to point out here. And the first one is, let me see. Yeah, so the miscarriage, moving house, and during COVID, and risking your child, and advanced age pregnancy while you're stressed, while all of this Daily Mail case is going on, and you move during COVID, supposedly, to Montecito is just unbelievable. So that was to do with the second pregnancy and the miscarriage. You can read that in Span, that during COVID, no less, they moved house, and obviously they had help moving house. And the camera crew being there. So you just think, how is this even possible or plausible? And this is if we go with the stagings. So bear that in mind. But at the same time, you're either committing fraud either way. Like you can't do that. So anyway. And the other event would be during Prince Philip's death and funeral. I pointed out that Prince Philip would have to, Todge, once returning to California, given the COVID rules, would have had to self-isolate. And there were articles from mainstream media and their go-to articles that he went straight home to them, to Fauci and pregnant Nut, who was, I think, 36 or 37 weeks pregnant at the time. I will provide that information. And was at risk of COVID, which is what the research have actually shown, that women of that gestation time are actually still exposed to COVID and at risk. And he supposedly isolated with Fauci and his pregnant wife, and then days or a day later, she goes out carrying Fauci with his lunchbox, taking him to playgroup or to someplace to be taken care of, when it's COVID, no less, and they're exposed to COVID and they're still meant to be in isolation. So he's either not living with them in Montecito, and let's face it, not Montecito, but the ranch, and not Fauci. But he's either not living with them, or they just breached COVID law severely, and Santa Barbara council or whoever's in charge of those enforcements looked the other way. So you've got two ways to look at this. You either have someone, a whole city enabling these two people getting away with fraud, which has happened. I mean, let's face it. Or you have them committing fraud. Either way, there's fraud that's taken place. So let's move on. And this is, I'm up to the 10th point, which is what I found out last night. So I just found this one image. I was trying to find, I can't even remember what I was trying to find. I think I Googled nut on phone in Netflix or something or other. And this shot come up of her in the car, and
This point, I'm just going to exclude as well. This point is to do with basically the shot in Netflix that Nut has of her announcing that she's pregnant with Fiblet, supposedly in September 2020, is the same shot where she's dressed. It's the same day that she does a shooting of her in the car with, obviously this is Liz Garbage's work, of her in the car going to Big Sur Beach unknowingly. We didn't know that. Of her scrolling down the Daily Mail court case and saying with the skeleton argument that they're going to make a fortune. And she's meant to be all stressed. And this was during the time within the Netflix video when that footage of her going through the argument had taken place, supposedly was while she was living in Tyler Perry's house in LA during COVID. They were meant to be all in lockdown and also really, just trying to be as private as possible, not go anywhere, not do anything, and just work and flourish, as in Spare Todd says, starting all their business stuff. So that proved at that point that Nut had staged in Netflix that she was pregnant in September. But that has nothing to do with the nature of being a parent and parenting, or knowing how to parent, or knowing how to look after a child. But those points I've made, and I'm sorry it was quite extended, are points made with to prove that she has no parenting understanding of being a parent or understanding a child. So I'm just going to go and fast forward to the actual proof. Look at my face. All right, here we go.
Or fellow YouTubers or authors put out, exposing the truth is the most important way, and I don't want to.
Of the ridiculousness of the male.
Oh, that's what I was saying just before. But you can have a look at this. You can just take a look at my video. I'm just going to get to the points that I want to make. I've covered Farchi's birth certificate in, I think it was Nuts' birthday surprise video, but you can follow that up yourself. So this is what I was talking about, the pronunciations of letters. Nut would know this if she knew what a child was like or a baby was like. Also, Nut would know how a child develops with age, even if this child was taken care of by somebody else. These are the steps, the concrete steps that Todge and Nut were agreeing to that a child learned their first steps down a sharp slope. False parenting again. Oh yeah, Fiblet was walking in Netflix by November the 1st, 2022. Oh no, she says that in Archetypes. She only started to walk by 2002, November the 1st. But in Netflix, she was walking by Christmas in 2021 with Ashley Hale being there as well, Nut's niece. She would know this. She would understand if she was a parent or know of a child's development. She would understand that that is a big no-no. Or that it's very easily proven to be fraudulent. COVID risk. Oh yeah, and that was the, that's it. I think at this point it's safe to say, which is going to be the third and last point, that there's now a contradiction of conflicting narratives, and that nothing is making sense and nothing is playing out well. And the reason why this is happening is because each time they create a new narrative, it's to cover their ass about something, to cover their ass about a lie that's being exposed or being questioned. And so then they've just got this constant line of distraction fueled by shill YouTubers and presenters and authors and experts and mainstream media that are trying to convince you that this all makes sense. Now, this is another one, and I'm just so proud of people that just have their own insight, and I really strongly encourage it, because that's my whole reason for being here, is that people question things. I'm not the one doing it anymore. That I just give you the ability or the platform and the resources to question and to think about things differently. So Arswell in response to one of my comments says, why would Samantha be raising M's kid when she had to send her own children to live with their fathers because of her disability and schooling conflicts? Which isn't true. Well, I can't speak for Ashley. No, she, that's not true. That's not true. When she remarried, after, Christopher Hale, when she remarried, with Scott Rasmussen, she was looking after Noel, herself until, and even when they separated separated and split up, and she was with a different partner, Noel was still under her home. And the reason why she no longer took care of that child, if that court document is correct, is because the courts actually decided that the child was no longer safe living with Samantha, to my knowledge. And that was the reason why. It had nothing to do with her disability. Who knows if she's disabled? I really don't know. Like, all this stuff, the heart attacks, all of it, it's just all a narrative to help with this big agenda, and this agenda to distract you and deflect you. And you're thinking, oh yeah, there's one deceptive person. Nut. No. There's a whole system. So that makes perfect sense for me. If we're going to go with one narrative, then how can we go with this one? So this whole story, now going back to it, I believe is a complete, it's been used and it's been instructed for, my own opinion is, I believe Paula M's been instructed to do this, to distract and deceive you, and deflect you from the actual truth being told, which would then make the monarchy liable, and a larger system at bay liable for this entire deception. And they don't want anyone to be angry, and they don't want anyone to say anything, especially the voice of a Commonwealth citizen. So they get another Commonwealth citizen, Paula M, to carry this crap on, and to trivialize and normalize the situation again, so you don't think twice about it. So you don't have a voice, so you don't think about it and be angry and want answers, or point at the right people. Because if that was the case, yeah, there wouldn't be a document out there up until December 2018. Nut has no parenting skills. Here I am being, trying to be succinct. So one, December 2018, not logical. And two, Nut has no parenting skills, even to this day, and no maternal instincts, especially carrying a baby full term. She's said things and announced pregnancies just way too early. She would know about that. And then geriatric pregnancy as well, drinking alcohol, eating raw egg, exposing her baby after a miscarriage to COVID, exposing her child, Farchi, to COVID. Doesn't make any sense, does it? And then the last point is the contradiction of narratives now, and especially this Paula M is in and Padina are in full support of Samantha Markle, that shill, and they would believe her narrative too and support her narrative that she could no longer care for her children, poor Sam, which then wouldn't make sense if the narrative on top of that is Nut's child was then taken care of by Samantha Markle, would it? The fourth point and question would be, are these YouTubers who are presenting such information to you, and you can think about this for any YouTuber, including myself, are they promoting others who are exposing the truth? Are they promoting others to the platform, to their own platform? Are they having conversations with them? Are they opening discourse? Are they trying to create change and make an impact? Or are they just making money? Are they just creating this weird kind of diversion? So that's something to ask yourself as well. And I'll leave you with that. Thanks, guys. I've also just thought of a fifth and actual final point to make, which is, if this is true and what's being presented is true, I'm not understanding exactly why this is relevant, how this causes the truth to come out about the legitimacy of anything. I don't see the point in this exposure other than trivialization and deflection and distraction and diversion, because it for me, it has nothing to do with anything, really. And for that exposure to happen now, I do question it. And also, why hasn't Padina and Paula M, if they're researchers and if they're actually doing research, if this really is a piece of evidence, and this email is true and correct, why haven't they argued to us and not undermined our understanding of things and the history? How have they not explained the December 2018 sealing while Nut was in the UK? How was that possible? How could that happen in the US while she's there in the UK, pregnant? And why hasn't any of that context been provided with this argument and this proof and this research? Where's the research there? Where's the research with context and the history of when this was, and the fact that doesn't even make any sense? How can they need to prove that to us, and yet they haven't, and therefore undermined our understanding of what this could potentially be? If this is if this is valid, because these documents were every document was already wiped out by then. Nut was married with Todge, supposedly, and Nut was pregnant with Fauci, supposedly. So then why then would they only be removing this document when they removed all documentation of Nut's identity when they began the PR strategy of creating her identity in late 2017? Tell me. I would love to know. I would love to know why this isn't brought up and contested or justified or explained so we can comprehend this properly. I think the YouTube presenters, authors, experts that come on here and pretend to be exposing the truth, and I'm speaking in general terms, and they do it on the defense and the argument that Nut is a narcissist, is a deceptive woman, is an evil, nasty woman because she goes against your values, the public's values, and goes against our loyalty to the monarchy, etc., and has been deceptive in doing so, has, blackmailed, bribed, manipulated everything under the sun. She's part of CIA, she's a part of everything. And what gets me is the hypocrisy, the blatant hypocrisy of these kinds of presenters and experts and authors that then lie and deceive the public, especially in countries under the monarchy, and then America, which is has a direct effect and impact with this situation now playing out, deceiving citizens of these nations with diversions, with tactics, with information that doesn't help exposing the truth and helping the public. And so they're deceptive in nature, as deceptive as equal to this identity of Nut that's been created by PR. But they're the real deal. They haven't been created. Their identity hasn't been constructed and conflated. They are the real deal. And yet they are as amoral, if not more so, than Nut by representing our values and deceiving us. So for me, I'll call a spade, and there's that's just the Aussie way. We're not political. We're not sensitive to these things. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm literally wanting to argue the point that's been made, and also argue the motive and why, but also then the branding that's come across and the messaging that's come across with if this is not true, if this is a tactic, if this is strategy, that has an agenda against telling the truth and exposing the truth, then why do you still have the branding of being morally sound and fighting for our values and fighting for our freedoms and fighting for truth, and going against the arch nemesis, nut, and never pointing the finger or saying that somebody else may be responsible other than Nut herself. It's very deceptive, very manipulative, and not the sort of people personally I would want to be friends with. And yet I tried when I was naive. I tried to connect with people who then, when they didn't connect with me, I felt as though, truthfully, that something was up, because I couldn't understand why someone wouldn't want the truth to come out if that's exactly everything they represent. And that's what they do with each other. You know, they put each other up on a pedestal and promote everything and promote the supposed truth. So why not me? I'm a Commonwealth citizen. I'm Aussie. I'm doing my part. What was the problem? And then you see things like this and you question why. And I think everyone has a right to question why. So I'm not attacking anyone. This is purely objective. And I will even include their names in the video, so it's very transparent, open and honest. I just disagree with something like this that isn't fully researched and proven to us that this is not a diversion.